Welcome to Jurassic Park.
I'm not even supposed to be here today.
I'm just a fucked up girl who's looking for my own peace of mind.
Welcome to the party, pal.
I'll be back.
I'll have what she's having.
I'm gonna make him an offer again.
Here's looking at you, kid.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
All right, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up.
Hello, I'm your host, Jim McLean. Welcome back to a brand new series of More Than Pixels on a Screen, a spoilerific movie review podcast brought to you by the Banterflix film review website here in Belfast. It's a brand new series, but it's the same old voices. So I'm your host, Jim McLean, and joining me is my lovely co-host, Adam What's Happening Neeson.
Well, I was thinking new season, new catchphrase.
Nah.
What's happening?
Nobody wants new. Have we seen anything at the cinema of late? It's old is better.
Old is better.
Old is better. Old is better. Don't want to go down that road. You don't want to have a new series. You don't want to have any new topics or catchphrases. You just want to have old is better.
It would have been weird if after season 1 of The Simpsons they were like, dough doesn't work. He's like, oops.
Oh.
SpaghettiOs.
Yeah, I couldn't think of that. Because you never, hear Al Bart, who should be in his 50s by now. You never hear him, uttering his, eat my shorts man anymore. Or do the Bart man.
It's not PC.
No, that's true. But anyway, we're already digressing. So, Adam, we have a brand new series. We're kind of rejigging things. Famous last words. And, listeners, if you could see Adam's face, smiling, I've promised that I'm going to make this podcast topical and weekly, and there's going to be set days where it's going to be out. It's not going to be my usual where it's like, I can't possibly think of doing an edit today. They can have the Christmas special in November 2025. No, I'm going to promise. I'm going to make you, Adam, as you're there before me, and listener, if you're listening, that one listener, he's there already. He's like, oh, fuck. 2 seconds in, they're already fucking talking about catchphrases. That is better. I'm going to promise we're going to have weekly podcasts. We're going to be topical and all this kind of stuff. So it's a bit of a revamp. So, Adam, what are we going to be talking about in this week's show?
We're going to be talking about Pancake Toppings.
Yes.
We've got movie news. Hopefully it's topical. That's the worst thing about movie news. You could be like, oh, I can't believe Danny DeVito's been cast as the Mole Man in the Fantastic Four. And then it turns out that he's got sacked for anti-Semitic tweets. We have got our new segment, which I'll leave as a surprise. Then we've got our big movie, which from week to week can be either new releases or cult classics. Then we've got what we've been watching, just in general, plus what you've been watching. And then just some fewer questions.
And also, not that I'm copying the likes of the Luana podcast or anything like that, and I don't know why I'm doing the wavy thing with my hands, because it's an audio medium, but we're going to have your cinema trips from hell. The naughtier the better, because Adam and I are quite childish. And as I've said, I did a little promo for this on TikTok and Instagram. We'll either be supportive of what's happened, more than likely we'll just laugh at your misfortune. But, if you want to get in touch, through our various social media channels, look for Banterflix or drop us an email at info@banterflix.com and we'll get you on to the pod. So I think without any further ado, Adam, I think we'll move on to the most important thing on any movie review podcast. This week it was Pancake Tuesday.
Yeah, of course.
And I just, people want to know us. People are always walking, when I'm walking down the street and they're like, hey, Mr. Banterflix, what do you have in your coffee? What do you have on your pancakes?
What do you have in your coffee?
Crack. What else do you think gets me through the day? I like it with cream. I actually don't really. I don't know, because see when people go in America and they go have cream in my coffee, it's literally, are they talking about milk or are they talking about cream?
I assume it's milk because, do you know in The Simpsons when Hank Scorpio, Homer's like, can I get some sugar from a coffee?
Yeah.
And he puts his hand in his pocket and then he's like, do you want some cream? And Homer's like,
No.
No,
Thanks.
I assume it's milk because why would he have milk in his pocket? Well, Hank Scorpio's up to
special kind of milk. Now, I know we asked our listeners, and we'll come to that, but Adam, there's Pancake Tuesday, and it was Valentine's Day. We're going to come back to that later on. But how do you like your pancakes? Are they store-bought? Do you make them? What do you have on them?
I'm a making man.
Buttermilk or just milk?
Just milk, and then
Do you get the wee, like, ready-made packs?
of course I've no time to be filtering with stuff. And then I get my store-bought lemon and my store-bought sugar.
Is that Jif?
The sugar?
No,
the lemon.
lemon stuff.
Yeah. And squirrel.
How many Pancake Tuesdays were ruined for you before Jif, the other Jif, changed its name to Sif?
The bleach. These pancakes taste weird.
Okay. Oh, fuck that again!
My teeth are whiter. I'm sugar, lemon. If I'm out somewhere and someone's making you crepes, Nutella and strawberries, but that's too much mess to be doing at home. So the lemon and sugar, sprinkle, is what I'm about.
What if, if your other half offered to make them for you?
Well, it depends who's doing the dishes.
True.
You ever try and get hard Nutella out of a cowl bowl? It's fucking impossible.
It's hard stuff, man. It's hard stuff. I do like being a filthy bastard because I don't really like Nutella until it's in the house. So, like, I know that doesn't
don't
make
eat street Nutella.
It's like, oh, mate, can I just stick some pusher going here? Do you want some Nutella, mate? No, what I mean is I can easily, when I'm, like, walking around doing the big shop, I don't know if that's just a Northern Irish thing or if it's a universal thing, just when you're doing the big shop.
Probably UK.
Yeah, well, I can go past the Nutella section and be like, nah, don't want it. Don't want that. Don't need that in my life. But around Pancake Tuesday, it's always the time a tub enters the McLean household. And I just become a pig. I just become a beast.
Do you stick your fingers in it?
Yeah, or just sit. You're talking about plates. I'll just be walking past for no apparent reason. Just be like, here, just get a knife out of the cutlery drawer. Lick the knife. Very weird hand gestures I'm making there. And then just leave it in the sink. Just be like, Amber's like, what did you have? There's no toast or anything, or no bread or pancakes. No, just had it off the...
But do you lick the knife enough where there's no evidence of Nutella on it?
No.
Oh, you're a dirty bastard.
Just leave it sitting there. See, for me, I do like savoury pancakes, so I like a bit of bacon and a wee bit of maple syrup. Like you, I like to keep it old school and traditional. Bit of sugar, bit of Jif. Thankfully not Sif like last year. Maybe banana.
Oh.
Maybe banana. I'll have none of that kind of those fancy pancakes you can get, like those Malone Road type of pancakes you can get nowadays, where it's like
BT Niner cakes.
Yeah, BT Niner ones where it's like, oh, the strawberries inside the pancake. You're like, what's fucking cracking that?
Hello, have you ever ordered like a takeaway and like on the menu they've got, who is it does it? Fire Away. There's other takeaway places available, but if you want to sponsor the podcast, a local takeaway place, Fire Away.
Clearly this is somewhere you're fond of.
I do love they do cannolis, which for an after dinner sweet treat.
Do you have your cannoli and feel like you're in the Italian mafia?
I actually go for a drive around the motorway, listening to "Woke up this morning, got myself a cannoli."
Just while you're eating your cannoli.
Yeah,
It's all right.
Tony Cannoli. Is that a joke?
Let's make it work, make it happen. If we can have Martin Scorsese with a Fermanagh accent, we can have Tony Cannoli, the cannoli loving gangster living in East Belfast.
Spud Annos.
Oh, you're going, oh, there we go. That Netflix money, we're going to make it. So, we did comment on this. We did ask for people to send in their messages. Bill Taylor, who's regular on this pod.
Hi, Bill.
And hiya, Bill, grumpy gamer. He, like us, likes them with Nutella. It says Nutella. Pancakes with Nutella. Yum.
John McGrillen on Twitter
He taught me something about this.
has his with maple scissorp, which Jim, being an old man, didn't know what scissorp was.
What this it was? I thought, is John McGrillen maybe a bit dyslexic? But
Just likes the sizz.
I've never heard maple scissorp.
Scissorp.
Scissorp. I've never heard that, but I've never heard scissorp.
Thing used to drink it. Now, this is me. Is it Little Wayne? Who was the guy that was like, yeah, yo? Who was that guy?
Don't know.
Fuck.
Usher, because he was at the Super Bowl.
Oh, well, that's right. I could see his face.
Grandpa Simpson.
Email in next week with the creator of Scissorp,
Yeah.
and you'll win a kiss. We also have
Do
Land.
you get to choose who you get the kiss from?
No.
No.
Or what time or when.
Or whether Adam will be dressed.
I won't. We have Land of the Cursed Dead on Twitter. Also, like Thirst with Nutella, honey, surprise, or maple scissor as well.
A lot of people are clearly, because this is the problem. I'm a 41-year-old man, so maybe I'm not down with this type of stuff.
Not down this is.
No.
Do you ever call pizza sa?
No.
Mate, you're missing out.
No, nobody.
Some
calls it
sa's in a canoe.
Do you know what? I know we're really going off topic, but a friend of mine, maybe last week, we were talking about something. There's a 42-year-old, very white man, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to kind of do all that kind of stuff, but he turned to me and said, "You know what? Oh, love that movie last night. It was sick." Oh, yeah. And you're like, "Fuck up."
Well,
you're 42.
What was the film though?
I can't remember. I was on the escalators, so it was here where I work, Q Radio. Just drop that in there. And he was going down. We were going down the escalator, and he was like, "Oh, I was so sick." And you're like, "I'm sorry." What?
If he was talking about like hackers, to like 90s hackers, and he was
No,
like,
because hackers in the 90s wouldn't have said sick.
no, but the fellow, like, you don't think Matthew Lillard would have been like, that's sick?
Yeah, maybe now. Maybe doing improved Matthew Lillard, but not back in the day.
Bloat Lillard?
Yeah. He's been pumped up a wee bit.
Man looks like he's been found in a river after 3 days.
Look, I'm not going to say anything because I look like I've been found in the river for fucking 2 years. But anyway, look, that's that. So that's the pancake section of, that's the topical bants. That's what I've written down, topical bants, Adam. So I think with that, we'll move on and chat about a bit of movie news.
Oh, is this a movie podcast?
Yeah.
Don't we do a theme tune?
Yeah.
We've got movie news.
Movie news. Or
News.
film stories.
Northern Ireland people say film with 2 syllables. There you go.
Yeah, that's the... How's the career going as a jingle maker?
Not great.
Okay, so movie news, loads kind of this week as we record. So we've had Fantastic Four casting that everyone kind of knew,
Yeah.
and then they were like, no, and they're yeah. Although they put it out on Valentine's Day with a nice bit of art, and I think because it was Brian Mulholland who I know runs Film Devar Short Film Festival. If you're watching the TV show, I'm speaking to Brian on the latest episode, but I know he on Twitter when I put it up, he's like really excited. I think, did he say, or is he correct, it's going to be like a 1960s setting, or they hope it's going to be a 1960s setting?
Yeah, the clues, like, the Thing is reading a Life magazine from 63, and Padre Pascal.
Maybe he's just got to find a really old issue of Time magazine. I think that might send people into a rage.
Do you know who I like? This guy is Richard Nixon. I think, like, if they're going to base it in the 60s, they're probably going to base it in a different universe, different timeline, because there's never been a mention of any sort of Fantastic Four family.
Well, you see, you kind of thought in a weird way you could get away with it with the whole Fox universe. But then you've got the whole complication like, Chris Evans and stuff, and not everybody wants to come back. I have a soft spot for the original Fantastic Four movies.
The Roger Corman one?
Not the... No, not the Josh Trank, isn't it that?
Yeah.
Not that one. I remember seeing that in cinema at the movie house. I think we got invited to a press screening of that. And I remember Terry, who works there, the PR person, she's like, come out of it, and she's like, friendly as always, going, so, what did you think? It's like, that's an hour and a half, 2 hours of my fucking life. I'm not getting back, Terry. It is genuinely one of the worst movies I've ever seen, and we're going to be talking about another superhero movie in this pod later on, which is bad for different reasons. I know that film had studio intervention and fiddling about XYZ and post-production, but that one was terrible. But I kind of like the first two, and you've got the Silver Surfer.
Lawrence Fishburne.
Yeah.
Doug Jones plays the body.
Mm-hmm.
It's good casting. Galactus was a big cloud. Fuck that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like they're harmless, really.
Yeah, they're a bit lightweight and fluffy, and they're off their time, and it was around. So if I'm trying to remember right, you had X-Men. There was the first X-Men, then there was the Spider-Man movie, and then you got the Fantastic Four. Mm-hmm. And I quite liked. I mean, it was kind of the Superman equivalent, because it was the X-Men were darker with Bryan Singer. The Sam Raimi Spider-Man films were just their own thing. Very, I suppose, light and fluffy as well. But Fantastic Four was bright and shiny, and I quite liked it. And it had the guy from Nip Tuck, whose name I can't remember, as Dr. Doom, which I thought was a good bit of casting.
For years, me and my mate called just that guy Nip Tuck. That was just his name.
Yeah, that's what he was called. First name Nip, second name Tuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, middle name and Nip and Tuck.
Nip and Tuck.
Nah, just call it Nip Tuck, mate. Sounds better.
You had Stanley as Willie Lumpkin.
Yeah.
And then he gets rejected from the wedding in the second one.
Mm-hmm.
Fun.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Simpler time, Adam.
They were a simpler time.
I mean, the Fantastic Four and what the kind of back catalogue of comic books and comic book lore that allows the MCU to use. And I know we'll probably be talking about Deadpool and Wolverine, because I know there's a lot of people are losing their shit. I know James Oliver, who was on the TV show this week, was very excited about the fact that you might be getting hints of Doctor Doom in that film. I don't know, because like what Marvel and MCU have started to do now is tease stuff, and it's going to be big, and you're like, all right, so that's a post-credits thing. All right, okay. So I'm not going to let myself get excited, but I think Pedro Pascal, thankfully he's not a Da or pseudo-Da in this. Well, he kind of is, I suppose.
Well,
But I think Vanessa Kirby, for me, is just the best bit of casting.
yeah, she is great in the Mission Impossible
Everything.
movies. I haven't really seen her in anything else apart from Mission Impossible.
I think she's in The Crown, isn't she?
Oh,
Or maybe I'm getting that wrong.
we don't watch that in our house.
Do you know?
No.
No.
For no reason. Yeah, and then you've got Joseph Quinn from Stranger Things, who looks good in the new Quiet Place movie.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people hate on him because they're like, oh, Stranger Things is shit. And it's like, but he was like the best bit about season 4. Those first opening episodes, he carried. And then you've got Cousin from The Bear, who is in Punisher as Microchip. So is that going to mess up? That's why I think Fantastic Four is in a different universe. Not because they want to be like, oh, Punisher's in the MCU.
Do you think for that whole exact reason, do you think they got to the point where like they'd cast everything and then he was like,
by the way,
I was in The Punisher?
it's funny that I actually watched Punisher season 1 and 2 recently, and I want to debut my new impression
Okay.
on this new relaunch of the podcast, Jim. John Barenthal as the Punisher, right?
Uh-huh.
Who I've always described as like a young De Niro when he's acting, but he's also like a pit bull, right?
But not as in the musician Pitbull.
Mr. Worldwide. So that's act out a scene, right? And then you be Daredevil,
Right.
and I'll be John.
Where are you? I can hear you, but I can't see you.
I'll be John Barnthal's Punisher.
Right, okay.
Right, you ready? Now you say, damn it, Frank, you can't go around killing people. And then I'll be John Barnthal's
Are we going to
Punisher.
do this in our typical way, where Daredevil mysteriously is from Fermanagh?
Well, he is Irish Catholic, so.
Yeah, that's true.
Right, you ready?
Damn it, Frank. You can't... What was the line?
line
Line!
was, damn it, Frank, you can't go around killing people.
All right, sorry, okay. Damn it, Frank. You can't go around killing people?
I could do whatever the hell I want, Red. That's all he ever does in that show.
And listeners, that's why you've been charged £20 for this acting masterclass by Adam Neeson, award-winning filmmaker.
Just not an award-winning actor.
Yeah. That's in due course.
Of course. That's
Loved it.
whenever I play.
I think we should make a regular feature of Adam's impressions.
Oh, it's not going to be a regular feature.
I think it would. I would say if there's people watching that video, a lot of ladies going, Adam Neeson.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Yeah, happy Valentine's Day indeed. Will Capley make you some pancakes? Try to bit my tongue there, so speaking. Right, okay. So Fantastic Four. I seen the video on TikTok when I was kind of doom scrolling one night in bed.
Doom?
Yeah, doom, no pun intended. And there was a guy, and I think he just hit the nail on the head for me with the MCU at the minute. He's like, I haven't seen the Marvels. I know we're going to be talking that with you next week on the TV show because it's out in Disney Plus now. And is it Echo, the series as well? It's like, haven't seen that. I haven't seen a couple of the series now. It's like, what have I missed? Fuck all. And the honest truth is, he's like, I don't care anymore. It's like, there's nothing, like, you think back with the Avengers movies, it's like, oh, fuck, you have to see that.
Yeah.
And now it's like putting it back to the Marvels, I know we're going to be talking about next week. The post-credits thing is probably the biggest thing.
And even that is just a glorified jangling your keys.
Yeah. And you're just like, really? So I hope, I mean, Fantastic Four might get my interest. I'll tell you what has, and I know it's not MCU, and it's more about those rose-tinted glasses of nostalgia. I don't know if you saw the trailer for X-Men 97, so the animated sequel, follow-on, continuation from the original series, just when they get the guitar riff going, and had to live through the trauma again, Adam, of remembering that Xavier died in that.
Wow. Did he, though?
Well, we're going to have to wait and see.
Weird trailer.
Magneto, according to the trailer, Magneto definitely thinks so, because he's got his will.
And he's like, helmet off, because Charlie's dead. Can't read my mind. Weird bit in the trailer with Wolverine. I don't know if you noticed, he's like on the Blackbird.
Yeah.
And he's like, I got to tell you, bub. I'm like, what, you? You alright? Because I assume it's Steve Bloom, the guy that does the original voice, because he still does Wolverine to this day in other stuff, but it's just
when people are walking past him in the street.
Cyclops is like, oh, will I go on this adventure? I tell you, bub. It's another one for the impression
He
pack.
sounds like Popeye.
I'm the best I am at what I do, and what I do isn't very nice, bub.
Get your spinach down, you son. So I'm excited about that. I think that's March. That's going to be on Disney
March,
Plus.
yeah.
Do you know what I'd love to see come back as well? Just because it's that perfect time for me of childhood memories. So there was the X-Men series. I never really watched the Iron Man one, because I think it was the Iron Man that was like the Marvel R or something.
Yeah, it was a bit cake.
It was a bit shit, but Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Because it had that great, wasn't it the guy from Aerosmith did the theme tune?
Was it, or was
Not
it
Steve Tyler.
No, was it not the guy from
James Blunt.
It was James Blunt, yeah.
We'll just say it's James Blunt. But they got the great theme, and it actually finished on a cliffhanger, because I don't think they ever wrapped it up.
Because MJ evaporated in the water.
And they were talking, I remember years ago, the guys that were behind it, the writers, were trying to crowdfund to get a new, like, to be able to make their own follow-up, like an unofficial kind of, finale for everything, but I don't think it ever happened. So Disney, if you're listening, if you've already taken our ideas for the King of Castle Street Christmas special, 2024, it's already been commissioned.
Yeah.
Disney heard it and we're like, make it happen. More for Martin Scorsese, please. Please, and can we have more Jerry Stiller as well?
There's a there's a bit in, I don't know if it's in the actual official edit, but there's a bit in the Christmas special. If you haven't listened to it, please free go back and listen to it. But where Martin, this sounds mad, where Martin Scorsese gets eaten by the ghost of Kevin Feige, and you go, Shazzy! That's just us being happy with ourselves.
Yeah, I was proud of that.
Also, there's a bit that didn't make the edit. I actually kind of want to go in and re-edit all the outtakes.
Right.
There's a bit where Martin Scorsese's eating nuts. I think about this all the time. And you go, Jesus, I'll be Pavel dashing the toilet in the morning.
That's the comedy gold I bring.
That's fucking fantastic.
And, I actually went to Queen's to study drama.
Oh.
Yeah, I did, and then I dropped out, and then took over politics instead. Wasted talent. Yeah. Wasted talent. So, yes, so X-Men 97. Last thing, of course, because you mentioned Wolverine, Super Bowl. I don't know, did you sit up to watch, Taylor Swift get very happy? watching the Kansas City, watching them win the Super Bowl?
I was awake, but I wasn't watching it.
Okay.
I don't even know why I was awake. I think it was texting. It's not fun.
Oh, that's the banter you bring. But loads of trailers as always. Big one, of course.
Wicked.
Twisters.
Oh.
Sadly, if there's no cow flying about in the sky, I'm out. It's a weird one because it just looks like a remake of Twister.
But not as good.
But not as good, and no flying cow. But unfortunately, that's not the trailer everyone's getting excited about. We have everyone getting excited about Deadpool and Wolverine. So many records if you kind of get interest in all that stuff.
But is it though?
I'll be honest. We're talking about Fantastic Four. I quite like the trailer, and I'm coming from someone who didn't really like the first two Deadpool movies.
They have this way. See the Deadpool trailers. They have this way of being like, this. It's the Ryan Reynolds poking fun is fun for 2 minutes and a half.
Yeah.
But by the time you get into the movie and he's doing that for fucking 2.5 hours, you're like, I'm going to shoot myself.
Well, I know Gavin Moriarty, formerly of this parish. Maybe we'll get Gavin back on. He talks about, particularly I think Deadpool 2, the fact that it's like the best bit is the post-credit sting. And I know we were kind of talking about that with the Marvels. I mean, what I love about the post-credit stings in Deadpool 2 is that they don't care. They're just there to have fun, which is what I like. It's just that the film itself was a bit meh, and it has this kind of, I don't know, are you a big Deadpool reader?
Yes.
So you'll probably be more knowledgeable in this, because he's this great character, a bit like She-Hulk. He can break the third wall. He can talk to us, the reader or the viewer in the case of the movies. But in the movies, there seems to be much more of a sense of this sentimentality that's coming through that I don't know if there.
It actually is a lot in the comic books. It's kind of, some of the best stories are.
So I'm wrong.
Well,
yes.
Some of the best stories are Deadpool when he has to be serious, when he faces the reality of what is actually happening. Because, there's comics by like Jerry Duggan where
So I'm wrong.
Deadpool has to like reconcile that he had a daughter and she's dead, and that gets crazy. Or, he was just a normal guy and now he's just this guy with mental problems.
See, when you say that, when you're just a normal guy, it's that meme that's going around to you're just a normal guy, though. What about the murders? What murders? That's what's going through my head.
From the Spud Pranos.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a great guy, the best guy around. What about the murders? What murders? That's my impression. That's my Italian stereotype number one. If anyone's listening, I'm available.
Morty.
I'll work. I'll work for coffee. So yeah. So you're basically, the short of it is, Jim's wrong. The sentimentality that seems to be there it just feels a bit out of place because you've got this cynical character that's quirky, and quirky's probably not the right word, but says exactly what's on his mind. There's no filter. But in the movies, they're just, particularly Deadpool 2, there's a lot of sentimentality there. And I don't. Who was it? What's the name of the character? Josh Brolin.
Oh, Cable.
And I just thought that was a real disappointment. But I don't know. I mean, you're clearly more of a fan of Deadpool than I am. So did you like the movies?
No, they're terrible.
Yeah.
And this new film looks fucking terrible as well.
There's a pagan joke. Oh, Disney.
Oh fuck! What, 2024? Oh, God
Pagan
forbid.
might be new for Disney, but not for me. Oh.
Yeah, like the whole Sean Levy of it all, being the director, just doesn't sit right with me. Like, we watched and reviewed for the TV show The Adam Project. Free Guy. Fucking.
Free Guy was another one. It was a bit like Family Guy, no pun intended, where it's like, here's references.
Yeah, and like the whole. Do you remember when he gets Captain America's shield and fights with a lightsaber? Is that going to be Deadpool 3 for the majority of like the second half of it? Probably.
I did like when he saluted Captain America.
In character, I guess, but if he starts making jokes about, oh, that's him from Ghosted, and I don't know.
But do you know what, you're saying all this, and I know again it's coming back to nostalgia. I've already mentioned the first X-Men movie, and I've already mentioned the cartoon, X-Men cartoon. It's annoyingly, it's the draw of Logan, of Hugh Jackman coming back. And I think I'm quite glad that they don't really show him in the trailer. And then there's reading online, and I'm not an uber nerd and all that stuff, but it's all the kind of talk about there's going to be different variants and stuff, and I think you might have a few actors, and I suppose in a way that gives them the potential, should they want to spin off with a different actor, they can. And I know that Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman have been really clear. It's like, this is, pardon me as I burp, very professional. They've been very clear that this is happening before the events of Logan, so don't get annoyed. That perfect swan song is still there. Yeah.
I don't know. Like, in the trailer we see Patch, who is like a code name for Wolverine when he goes to Madripoor. That's really cool, and I would love to see Hugh Jackman in a espionage movie where he plays Patch. If they...
But not Patch Adams.
Not Patch Adams, where he builds a giant woman's vagina and all of the X-mutants have to walk through it.
Comedy, it's the greatest cure.
If, like...
Honk my nose.
If it's Patch and then they turn around and it's like Richard Kind. I'm Wolverine. That's not an impression. That's not Richard Kind. Or Larry David, you know, is
Martin
like...
Short.
Oh, that would be good.
I would like that.
Martin Short as Wolverine.
Yeah.
That would be fantastic.
I think make it happen, Kevin Feige.
But as his character from Arrested Development, where he has to be carried around the whole time. I don't know. I just... if you're doing stuff like Patch and other variants of Wolverine, you're kind of, you know, throwing everything but the kitchen sink at this character that has an extra 50 years, 100 years on screen, and you're just doing all of it in one film because lol. Annoying. Like,
I don't know. Well, do you know what? Of any of the trailers and any of the stuff of Marvel, I will be honest and say it's the first one in a while that's made me go, oh, okay. I still think it's like, oh, it's going to be a 15 certificate. Oh, it's R-rated. It's going to be so edgy for a Disney movie. It's like, no, it's not. It's going to be exactly the same as the 12A, but a little bit more effing and jeffing in. And who's it for? It's not for a fucking 41-year-old audience like me. It's for the fucking 12A audience that are still sneaking in anyway and going, oh my god, who said fuck?
nah.
That's kind of why I love stuff like Logan, because Logan felt... when was Logan out? You know,
2017.
2017, so still in my 30s. It felt like a comic book movie for me in my 30s.
Yeah.
And that was kind of why I like that. I don't know. I'm going to wait to see. I am at least excited. So I think that's our movie news covered. Now, I'm trying to figure the best way of selling this, Adam, because regular listeners will know, for some bizarre reason on this pod, you seem to be fascinated with one person.
One person is... Welcome to the first episode of Back in Cilla Black, where Adam goes through the history of Cilla Black to tell you some fun facts about the Duchess of Liverpool. This week, we have a story that I have researched about Cilla Black.
How much research?
About 4 minutes. Where whenever she was a kid,
right,
she had like loads of trees in her back garden. She would go foraging through the trees, picking like loads of berries and stuff. Her and her family, you know, they were bringing them back, and then when they brought them back to the house,
yeah,
they would make like a big cake with all like these like fruits that they've made, and that was the first ever invention of. That was the first ever invention of. That was the first ever invention of the Cilla Black Forest Ghetto. So,
viewers, if you can see the joy in Adam's face,
we'll see you next week for Back in Cilla Black.
There we go. So I think that's a winner of a feature. Vinyl features, and I think, you know, not only because we were talking about some of the other Banterflix podcasts becoming their own thing, so our Disney podcast doing that on its own, talking about getting crime scene to screen back up and running. I think that should be maybe a podcast on its own.
It'll be a 4-minute podcast.
2.5
for
hours.
one joke.
2.5 hours. I just hope, Adam, it's not going to be the same joke each week.
It will be, trust me. People will get sick of this.
Okay, right. So with that, I think we're going to move on. And we've done our movie news. We've done our Cilla Black update. I know listeners already can't wait to see what you're going to come up with next week. So I think we'll get stuck into this week's big review. It's out on Valentine's Day. We're going to come back to Valentine's Day, I know. But this is Madam Web, the latest kind of, I don't know what Sony are calling it, the Sony Spider-Man universe.
There is an official name for it they come up with.
Shite.
Yeah, well.
That's kind of what it is. But so this is following on from Morbius. You've got the Venom movies, Kraven the Hunter. You can't wait for that one.
Do they include the Spider-Verse movies?
I don't know. I think because this is the whole thing with Morbius. Again, we're obsessed with post-credit stings in this week's pod. But the post-credit sting in Morbius has Michael Keaton because they traded off.
In theaters, he was like, we got to get this Spider-Man. But then when it came to home release, it was, we got to team up.
Oh, okay.
There was no Spider-Man mention. So, question mark, what's that about? Who cares?
Okay, who cares? Right, so this is Madam Web. I think without any further ado, Dakota Johnson's big superhero debut. I don't think she's done anything like this before. She's done a lot in 50 Shades of Grey. But yeah, this is her superhero debut with Madam Web. And before you and I share thoughts, let's play a clip.
Hi, sir. All right, I'm going to cut your seatbelt.
Place at the sea of time. You are the only one who can change the future.
That's it, Cassie, freeze! Come on!
Did I die?
So that's a clip of Madam Web. Will she survive, Adam? Will she drown? Well, obviously she doesn't drown because Adam Scott saves the day in that situation. But this is Madam Web. Her web connects them all.
Does it?
Does it though? Yeah. So this was out, as I say, on Valentine's Day, directed by S.J. Clarkson, who I know has done a lot of the kind of small screen Netflix kind of MCU stuff or Marvel stuff. She definitely has done Defenders. She's done a lot of TV. I don't know the name off the top of my head of the writers, but Dakota Johnson, as we've mentioned, Sydney Sweeney, and I'm going to come back to this. I've a lot of issues with Sydney Sweeney.
I also want to come back to something with you with Sydney Sweeney as well.
Okay, all right. Isabella Merced, I'm hopefully getting that right.
Dora the Explorer.
Celeste O'Connor, and in a small, we've already mentioned Adam Scott and Emma Roberts. Weird that Emma Roberts is not like the teenager character anymore. She's now like the older kind of Dakota Johnson kind of kind of character.
Yeah, weird. Like
this makes me feel old.
Yeah,
and a really kind of she's there. It's like you go, oh, that's a known actor to be in that role, which is pretty like almost a cameo throwaway. But hey, she got a paycheck.
I think they were doing the whole that's Spider-Man's mummy, so it has to be somebody. Do you know what I mean? Like they have to, and then whenever they're like, "Where's Richard Parker?" Oh, he's off in fucking Malaysia. I was expecting him to turn up and it would be like John Hamm, like somebody you would know.
Yes, actually, because I'll be honest, I didn't even pick up on that the Parkers, which shows kind of my. I'm going to be honest, listeners, right now, I fell asleep during this film. Mm-hmm. I've been on an early shift at work. I came out and I was meant to go see it at the Odeon at 1, got held up at work, had to go to Lisburn to go see it at the Omniplex. Other cinemas are, of course, available. And I sat down and watched it. Stuff happened, like nothing really grabbed me here. And at a certain point, I've talked about this before, when you feel yourself fighting sleep. And then the next minute, they were improving. And I was like, okay, so I don't really know. I think I only maybe slept for about 10 minutes. I don't think I missed a lot.
I'll fill you in.
Okay, fill me in.
They met Paddington Bear.
Oh, That'd be class. That would be the ultimate crossover. So this is a weird film. It's getting pretty nasty reviews online. I think it's sitting at about 34%, even if that.
I think it's less, isn't it?
On Rotten Tomatoes, it's, I think, less than Morbius, which I didn't hate as much as some. I just didn't like.
Yeah.
More. It was just one of those, it's just generic superhero movie, crash, bang, wallop. Okay, I'm not really fussing Jared Leto, but I do like Matt Smith, and I think Matt Smith's in a bit of a thankless role in a generic villain. But then, what's that, Madam Webb? Hold my beer. We have, let me get the name of the actor. Is it Jose Maria Yazip?
Does he play for Chelsea?
Yeah, I think he's playing up front for them, yeah. The most generic. If that's Santiago, is that the...
No, it's Tahir Rahim. He plays Ezekiel Sims.
Okay, there we go. Sorry, I apologise. So, Tahir Rahman. Have that with boiled rice, mate, would you, please? So, Ezekiel Sims is possibly the most generic villain we've had. And we'll always say we'll probably be spoilerific.
Let's go full spoilers, because
in this Madam Web,
I can't. You can go full spoilers and explain everything, and go full spoilers and explain nothing, and you'll still be like, what happened?
That's the magic of cinema.
Fantastic.
So
he gets killed by a Pepsi sign.
There's a lot of Pepsi references in this film. I wonder if Pepsi maybe had some product placement there.
It's weird because it's made by Columbia Pictures, which was famously owned by the Coca-Cola company. So why they had Pepsi in it? Well, maybe that's why, because they were like, Pepsi kills.
Yeah, that's why. So we have Dakota Johnson. She is Cassandra Webb. Were you familiar with the Madam Web character?
Unfortunately, Jim, I am, as a big nerd man.
See, I bring it back. I talked earlier on about the Spider-Man comic book, or the Spider-Man series. And I mean, I read Spider-Man comics. I mean, I'm the one who kind of stuck in there for the Clone Saga with Spider-Man. But I wasn't really that knowledgeable on the character. I'd only really seen her in the animated series. I think she has her own spin-off comics, does she?
Kind of.
Limited kind of run.
Yeah.
The vibes I got from this was kind of very similar to kind of the Harley Quinn Birds of Prey feature, that sense where it's kind of, it's trying to set up other things.
Yeah.
Within it. So you got, at the start, it's 1970s. We see Cassandra's ma. She doesn't hang about too long. And then we jump to 2003, which I find really weird, because I actually forgot it was in 2003, because they've got all this kind of state-of-the-art technology where they can track people. And they're also, our lead villain is able to, I have had a vision of these three women in my head. I want you to create them, and it's just photorealistic photos. It's like, now de-age them by at least 10, 15 years.
It was the first time in the movie, because the first 10 minutes I was like, what the fuck? Like, the editing is so, like, I don't know about you, but it's like zooming in and out.
Yeah.
To kind of create tension.
Yeah.
And then when it gets to that scene where it's like, I have this technology, and the girl goes, is this the girl you remember from your dreams, from the description of your dreams? And then they show publicity shots of Sydney Sweeney.
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck is happening?
We've had a few dreams about Sydney Sweeney over the years, and I'm a 41-year-old man. Can I just say right now from the get-go, I mean, having watched Sydney Sweeney a couple of weeks ago in Anyone But You, it's like, oh, wowza. And I'm sure people have seen her in Euphoria, wowza. I find it really creepy, the way she's done up. And I don't know if that's just the character, but it's like this kind of, and I'm probably showing more about my psyche than anything. She's like, she's slipped out of like a porn movie on Pornhub.
The three main girls, like the younger girls,
and I just want to clearly say I didn't enjoy that. It was just like, if I feel, and this is me speaking for fuck's sake, going, this is a bit cringe, this is a bit weird, why did you dress the character up like this?
But also the three, also just sidebar, tangent first. You say about anything but you.
Yeah.
Anyone but you?
Anyone but you.
You were telling me last week when we met up that you went and watched it And I was like, Sydney Sweeney hot, question mark? And you were like, she walks about in her bra. And I was like, fair play. Then, about 2 days later, I see you on Letterboxd logging anyone but you again.
Yeah.
And I was like, Jim, there's easier ways to tell people you've had a wank, like.
Jesus. Well, no, I just like to let my, 9 followers on Letterboxd, because I've only started it. I'm a lot later to everybody else, and I'm trying to use it to kind of encourage myself to get back to writing, not wanking. And I was like, I haven't really mentioned anyone but you in that, and I haven't seen it. And I'm trying to, so I have a list of what I've seen in the cinemas. This is me being very defensive here. And my power song is Natasha Bedingfield. Yeah, have you seen?
I haven't seen it yet.
Reference?
I haven't had a wank yet. But
the night is young.
the 3 girls, and excuse me for being a creep, right? But Sydney Sweeney, hot,
Yeah.
right? And the
Which also looks hot in the Rolling Stones, the music video for the latest. Well, not the latest, but when their comeback song. She's just on the call.
The 3 girls, all look hot. Like, whenever I was watching it, I was like, these 3 girls are hot. And also knowing in my head that I know those actresses, and I know that they're like 25 each, right? So I was like, it's okay to be, like, not to justify my head, it's okay to be looking at these women.
He's trying to justify it.
I know. But Sydney Sweeney's 28, right? So I was like, she's 2 years younger than me, so it's okay to be like, fit. If she was like 18, you'd be like, question mark. But in the movie, about 3/4 of the way through, the girl that plays fucking Anya, who my girlfriend kept turning me, because she's this actress is Mexican, and she's saying it like in a Mexican accent, so she's going Anya, which my girlfriend turned to me and did the Anya from Resident Development every time she said her name. Very distracting, but we were having a great time. Anyway, this girl,
this is in the cinema too.
I was laughing so loud, people were getting annoyed in the cinema at this movie. Anyway, tangent. This girl goes about 3/4 of the way through the movie, and we're all under 18. And I was like, why have you dressed Sydney Sweeney as a schoolgirl? Give this other girl a belly top, and give this other girl a belly top and her Calvin Klein trunks pulled up her hole, and then turn around and be like, here, they're all 16. What's happening?
Well, do you know, right, I'm being an honest person here, and it's not even being sleazy. It's just like, there's going to be young girls I don't know, let's be honest. The film hasn't found a massive audience. It's not getting great reviews. But there'll always be someone who'll be like, oh, I loved it. That one person, oh, I love Madam Web. It was amazing. And they'll be dressing up at the Comic Con. And it's one of those ones where you don't really know where you're going. It's just like, it's just cringy. And I felt awkward.
But it's not as if these characters in the comic books are sexualized. You know what I mean? Well, comic books are comic books.
We've had a few.
I know. But the girl who plays, like, Anya, who's, like, who plays in the comic books Arachne, and then becomes Spider-Woman, she is, like, presented as, like, kind of like a Robin, like, to Batman, sort of like to Madam Web. Sort of, this is this young girl, she's, like, 14, she has spider powers. Where in the vision of the future, they're all just spider women. Because I looked it up afterwards and I was like, who are they meant to be playing? And literally the list was like Sydney Sweeney, Spider-Woman, fucking Isabella Marcel.
Do you know what I quite
Spider-Woman.
like, though, just to cut across you when we're talking about aliases? I quite like the fact that Dakota Johnson at one point dubs the villain, is it the Ceiling Guy?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then like, I really want to see that comic, that movie. Ceiling Guy.
The also, whenever I text you about this the other day, I called her Mrs. Webb instead of Madam Webb because it's funny.
So the key thing, you sat and you roared your head off.
Pissed myself.
I've admitted I had a little bit of a snooze, and I don't actually know off the top of my head. Have we got any comments about anyone seeing Madam Web? I don't think that says at all that no one's rushing out. So this was in the biggest screen in the Omniplex. The cinema was bunged. 4 people. 4 people in there watching the film with me. And it's, an hour and 45 minutes?
Yeah.
No post-credit sting, because we seem to be obsessed with that on this week's
what a
pod.
shame.
No post-credit sting. It does seem to kind of like think that it could build to something, and I suppose you've already got kind of other movies that you can place within that kind of Sony not official MCU in association with Spider-Man universe. There was a lot of talk, I think, at one point that they might try to bring Andrew Garfield into this, or Tobey Maguire, so that's their Spider-Man, and then Tom Holland is still the MCU Spider-Man. I don't know. I don't really care. But my biggest thing is, like, a lot of the time during this film, I quite like Dakota Johnson as an actor. I mean, she has been in a lot of guff stuff. I mean, everybody needs to get paid, but then she pops up in stuff like Peanut Butter Falcon. I just think it's one of my favourite films, probably the last, not top, but it will be one of those films. If I was to turn around, recommend a film to someone, say, look, you know, like on Golden Pond-esque, do you want to have a film to cheer you up, you having a shit day? Peanut Butter Falcon. There you go. Just, you know, slide that in.
Or if you want to be a big freako, the remake of Suspiria.
Yeah, Suspiria as well. I mean, I still prefer the original because it's fun. But the remake, because I remember seeing that at London Film Festival, getting up at like 7 o'clock in the morning to watch that film while having a wee bacon sandwich watching Suspiria, and then you just watch terrible, horrible, nasty things happen to Mia Goth, and you're like, oh, I'll just put my bacon sandwich down now. I do like her, and I know she has had no filter on the press tour for Madam Web, but the thing about this film is she looks embarrassed in a lot of the scenes.
There's a bit where she has to talk to a cat.
Yeah, that's the best acting.
Yeah, she's like in her apartment and the cat walks in and she's like, what's happening, cat? And then she's like looking through a folder and the cat goes meow and she goes, here, you sell it. It's like, did she know the cameras were on?
There's a bit in the end, and I know we're talking about spoilers, where our generic boring ceiling guy villain comes to an unfortunate end. And there's a line, I'm trying to remember, and I've only seen the film, an hour or so ago, and she's talking about, these 3 teenagers weren't your fate. I was.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, Jesus. All right, calm yourself, Siri.
Siri's joining in.
Siri's trying to get an audition for a role. But I was just like, really? She, and I was reading somewhere, she talked about how this is one of her first big film acting against a lot of green screen and kind of a lot of visual effects projects. It shows. Yeah. And I still like Dakota Johnson. Just to drop something, to be that guy. Once I got to interview her dad. Big Don, very briefly, and I think he was taking the piss. And I'd love to find the audio. It was in the very early stages of this podcast. It was over at the Edinburgh Film Festival, and I got into an argument with her dad about Sean Connery. Because it was around the time, this is to put it in context, there was a young girl in the red carpet beside me, and it was all around the Scottish independence vote. She's like, who's your favourite Scottish actor? And he's like, oh, I can't think, maybe Ewan McGregor or someone. And she was like, what about Sean Connery? And he's like, he's Welsh. He's Welsh. And I was like, no, he is Scottish. You know, he is, I'm pretty certain he's Scottish. He's like, and he just got into a big, chat. I think he was trying to do it in jest, but part of me also thinks, like, does Don Johnson think Sean Connery's Welsh?
Were you like, you shut the fuck up, Tubbs? Is he Crockett or Tubbs?
I don't know, just Miami Vice.
Yeah.
So that's that. So Dakota Johnson, I think she's a great actor. I just think I feel when watching this film, she's got the sense like, this is the paycheck movie. Some actors can hide that. Some actors can hide that this is my paycheck, I need to go on holiday for a couple of months, or a mortgage needs paid, or whatever. I'll just do this, Madam Web, whatever it is. A couple of weeks' work, it'll be done. She looks really embarrassed at times, and really wooden, and that's the least this film's problems. It's just, I was reading about it, they said that they wanted to make this really grounded superhero movie. It's just dull.
Yeah.
Like, at least Morbius had a bit of its bonkers bits. I didn't like Morbius, I didn't hate Morbius, as I've already said. But it's just like...
I think there's just nothing really to go on, not even from the source material. It's kind of like, because in the comic books, people like Ezekiel Sims, you know, he's part of like the other storyline in Spider-Man where it's the thing that annoys me about Spider-Man in the comics the most. It's like Spider-Man, Peter Parker gets bitten by a spider and he gets powers and he becomes Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Cool. But at some point people went, but what if he is like an animal totem? The spider was an animal totem and it bit him, and now he's part of this like lineage where there's people that hunt down through the different universes different Spider-Man totems, and they're vampires and they eat these Spider-Man people to get their powers, and you're like, this is fucking shit.
Still better than Clone Saga.
It still is better than the Clone Saga, but like, it's where you get a lot of the Spider-Verse comic book is like about that, and it's kind of, Madame Web is a big part of that because she's connected to all of the different Spider-Men. But whenever you're making this character that's connected to every Spider-Man ever, but there isn't any Spider-Mans at all, it's like, what is she gonna do? Oh, she's gonna have a premonition that
her mate's gonna get hit, the ambulance driver's gonna get hit,
and Adam's gonna laugh hysterically.
There's some bits in this film, it's like, I come back to like the embarrassed bit and it's just, oh, cringe. There's a bit earlier on where it's like, it's the introduction, I think, of Sydney Sweeney's character, first time you see her, and they've got like the worst, she's got the worst stepfather, that's the word I'm looking for, worst stepfather ever, when he's like, oh, we're just gonna go see your mom, we're just gonna go see this kid's mom and my wife, you stay here. And minutes before, you've had this little kid going, where the fuck? I mean, I know Victoria Brown, if she's listening, will know I get caught up in the smallest things about the small hills I'm prepared to die on. So her mum's being rushed to hospital in an ambulance, and Dakota Johnson, Madame Webb, or Cassandra Webb, sorry,
Mrs. Webb,
Mrs. Webb is, you know, trying to do her best to kind of, you know, do something from the French Connection, driving through, and then they come to the hospital, and the wee kid's drawing a wee picture. Where the fuck does he get the time to do that? Here you go.
I love that they go, there's a kid here to see you, and Mrs. Webb goes, who? And the kid comes over and they go, do you know the woman you saved 10 minutes ago? And she goes, oh, why? And the kid gives her a picture and she goes, here you go. And then she goes, all right, thanks. And like the kid leaves and she turns to Adam Scott and she's like, it's not even on paper, it's like drawn on fucking cardboard. Like, she doesn't swear, but there's like an awkward silence and Adam Scott has to go, just put it in your pocket and then you can throw it in a bit later.
Yeah. And
you're like, did she know the camera was on again? Because she's just like, the fuck's this?
Like, look at this.
Are you okay?
There's another bit. I'm trying to think where I was just like, really? But it's went out of my head, so let's forget that bit. Yeah, it's just bits in this film. It's just really cringy and really like. There's one attempt, right? And you laughed your ass off through this film. Did you laugh at the one section, the one clip of the film that was clearly played for laughs, and it's like shot for shot, almost looks like Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man when he first walks up the wall, and you're like, you're not going to walk up the wall.
My missus turned to me and she goes, yeah. Like, just, yeah.
I want your missus to do director's commentary.
Just, right, okay.
Who's that person?
This is what I was going to bring up. Whenever the film started and Adam Scott comes on, because we love Parks and Rec, I'm like, oh, it's Adam Scott. And she goes, oh, fuck, I love him. And I was like, he's playing Uncle Ben. And she turned to me and goes, is this a Spider-Man film?
I thought you were going to say, what, from the rice?
2 minutes done. So, usually
Is that the only reason, then, this film's set in 2003? Because even that doesn't really make sense. I come back to this point, I don't know why the film's set in 2003.
Do you want to know why? Because the Ezekiel storyline, I think, was meant to be he was trying to kill Peter Parker before he was born.
Okay.
I think that was, like, if I can remember from leaks ages and ages ago, that's the whole point of him. Like, he's trying to kill Peter Parker before he's born, so that's why the whole Ben and Mary Parker is important to the plot. But then it gets to the point where he's like, I need to kill these girls because they're going to kill me. And you're like, right, okay. But then the girls they never have any intention, or it doesn't seem like they're going to accidentally get powers.
By the end of the film.
It's fucking weird. Yeah, and then at the end of the film, they don't have powers, and then fucking Mrs. Webb looks out the window, even though she's been blinded, and I laughed at that point because she she falls into the water, gets blinded, right? And you're
paralyzed.
That's the thing. She's paralyzed in a wheelchair, like Professor X. She goes, "Oh, you got fucking honey chili chicken from a Chinese, did you?
Bless you.
Bless you." What? And then she fucking wheels over to the window and looks out the window. Don't forget she's blind. And she goes, "I think everything's gonna be alright in the future." And then she gets this vision of all three of the girls plus Mrs. Webb as like this superpower team, and you're like, when's this happening? How is this happening?
Happening.
But there's no intent. There's no like, oh fuck, these girls are involved. They're all like part of the Osborne Corporation, and that's how they're going to get their powers.
She's just clearly going to go around and get some spiders while they're asleep. Here, bite there, bite them.
You aren't afraid to keep me collies, are you? Bless you.
I remembered now another scene I just thought was so pointless. So it's near the end. She has been blinded, the unfortunate event, and she's just sitting in the hospital, and the three girls come round, and this nurse just walks in, and she's like, "Oh, just fucking Mrs. Nosy Bitch." She's like, "Excuse me, are these all your immediate family?" And she's like sitting there with a fucking patch over her eyes going, "Aye, they're my family." Oh, alright, then I'll just fuck off then. Like, what was the point in that sequence?
Because, Jim, she didn't want kids at the start of the movie,
I know.
and now she's adopted these 28-year-old women.
Fuck out of them now. Fucking adopt them if they really want. Just to be creepy. And you mentioned some points. Bless you. You were talking about some really bad ADR.
Well, the Ezekiel guy, every line of his is ADR'd.
Yeah.
Right? Which is ridiculous. But then there's a point later on in the movie when whenever you fell asleep and Mrs. Webb goes to Peru, she goes and finds the Spider-Man who's
Paddington Bear.
And he's like, "I got a marmalade sandwich." Excuse you. And
hard stare.
She goes to the fucking reflection pool from Age of Ultron, and the guy pushes her like astral spirit into the water. This sounds like madness.
As you do.
And then she's like thrown back in time to see why her mum needed to find this spider that could make her live. And it turns out that her mum was pregnant with Mrs. Webb, and she had muscular dystrophy, right? But there's an ADR line. You don't see Dakota Johnson's face, but it's just off screen. She goes, "I didn't know I had muscular dystrophy."
She's shouting it like that too.
I fucking howled.
So it sounds like you had a fun time at this film.
It was the genuinely hardest I've ever laughed in a film. Like, people before I went in were describing it as The Room. Like, it's like that level of bad. And it is, but it's not going to have the longevity of like a so bad it's good movie.
I just think it's dull.
It is. It's like, there's no rhyme or reason to it.
It looks like, we were talking earlier on about Josh Trank's Fantastic Four. There was a film taken away by the studio. I can't remember if there's talk of this happening. I think Dakota Johnson's talked about this. Might have misremembered it somewhere where it was like they said the studio were tweaking and changing. There was a lot of talk of rewrites, etc. on dailies and stuff, on daily occasions. I don't know. I just find that there was no, like, at least, okay, I'm struggling to remember stuff off the top of my head, but at least Morbius was a couple of, like, okay, half decent attempt at action sequences with, albeit, terrible CGI.
Yeah.
Here I can't think of any really big. There is action sequences, but there's nothing over the top. And in my head, I was kind of thinking before watching it, it's like, is this going to be like a throwback to the stuff like Spawn in the 90s, where it's that kind of like, oh, these are just bad superhero movies? And I don't even think it's that, because it's not bad. It's just fucking dull. That's my problem. I mean, if you want to wait for my letterbox review, had a great sleep, dull as dishwater.
There's a moment
with great naps.
Comes great.
Yeah.
Bless you.
I am actually worried. I think I might have snored in the cinema.
It's okay. There was only 3 other people. Yeah. They probably enjoyed that more than the film. There's a bit where, because there's a whole like Final Destination element to the movie.
Yeah, there is. There's a bit where she's fucking driving behind a big lorry load of trucks, or not a lorry load of trucks, a truck with a load of logs,
poos. To bless you. Yeah, tree barks.
Yeah,
what is that called? Tree logs.
Logs.
Yeah, the loggies.
Yeah, I've all done a few of them.
Bless you. Yeah,
it's bad when you're having to bless yourself.
But oh Jesus bless us, smell that. The Final Destination aspect of the movie, you could tell that they were like, this could be fun. Like, she plays with time a bit, but the only thing she ever does is get 3 women off a train,
save a pigeon,
hilarious. Because I also thought she was going to talk to the pigeon as well.
Because she's Madam Webb Doolittle.
And then the scene where she has to go rescue them in the fucking 4-star diner or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Which
they're all playing Britney.
But she can run to quicker than she can drive to.
Yeah.
Madness. And it's all...
Let's try that again.
Oh, fuck. And then...
And there's one sequence near the end where he's like, you can't save them all. And then she's like, oh, she's able to do it with her weird kind of...
Ghost powers.
And then he just does what I would have thought of doing within 2 seconds, just punches her.
Yeah.
Like, was he just stand there and watch all the kind of Donnie Darko stuff coming out of her? And he's like, oh, Jesus Christ. Well, a bit like, well, fucking punch her.
Did you like the bit when she's like, I'm off to Peru for a week, and then the girls have to go stay with Uncle Ben, and...
the waters break.
The waters break, but they're all wearing similar outfits, but in different fairy and colours. Like, Sydney Sweeney's still wearing a schoolgirl outfit, but like a different colour. But then, whenever Dakota Johnson comes back, she's still driving the taxi she stole a week earlier, even though it's been Christ.
Yeah.
Where did you park it? Just JFK Airport. Yeah. Like, don't be worried about it.
Take the number plates off, it's alright.
But that's the funniest thing too. She takes the number plates off and then sneaks into her apartment to get stuff. But at no point does anybody, including the police, know that Mrs. Webb is a suspect.
She's a mastermind, that's why.
So she sneaks into her apartment for no reason. It's honestly, you could break down the movie scene by scene and lunacy at every, like, even when the movie opens and it's fucking, there's a Spider-Man that lives in the jungle and then he goes to a cave and there's fucking...
Do you know what it sounds? You sound like you're the start of SpongeBob SquarePants. The way you're saying.
What do you mean?
He lives in a pineapple under the sea.
There's a Spider-Man that lives in the jungle. Spider-Man, jungle pants.
I don't know why. I'm just losing my sanity. I just was thinking in my head, it's like, is he going to break into song?
But there's like 20 other...
There's also another really terrible bit of dialogue in that opening sequence. Because I'm just like going, oh, is this going to be like arachnophobia vibes? It's like, oh, is this what it be like? And she's like, the spiders are so hard to find. I'll just go off here into this wee section of the jungle. I found one in the jar. There's one in the jar. And also, later on, where the fuck did they get time to get a photograph of the Ma and the villain?
Yeah.
And it's like, you died your ma died on that trip. I mean, at what point did they who gets that photo developed after that?
Well, I
know I'm overthinking it, but also in that opening scene, there's just like, just really bits of like terrible dialogue again. So they're like looking at the web, and I was thinking of arachnophobia. I remember that because it's kind of quite similar to that kind of sequence, and it's like, oh, look at the web. The spider is so hard to tell. Oh, she kick. Oh, she's not. The baby's kicking. Oh, she's a real tough one. This, and you're like, it just zooms back. Like, all right, you know, she's pregnant. All right, okay. I also love it's like when in the flashback sequence when the doctor is like, I don't think you should fly. I don't think you should fly to Peru. It's like, What is it she said? Because all she can offer is, here's a tissue. Most fucking unsympathetic doctor ever. Your child is multiple. So where are you, Dakota? Want to need you?
I didn't know I had muscular dystrophy.
And he's like, here, can I give you a tissue? He's like, Jesus, that's cold. And you pay for it over there? At least you got the NHS here.
I just... the flashbacks are like from a different film, because do you ever see whenever there's a flash forward, I guess, of the villain and he's fighting all the Spider Women
with his hair a wee bit grayer?
What's that about? Why is he old? Why is he suddenly older? And then when he wakes up, he's like, I have this dream every night. And your girl's like, did you have the dream again? First time he's ever met her. And then he's like, did you know there's technology that you can get that you can see anybody's faces? And the girl's like, I hope he's not on about me being in the NSA, because that would be super awkward. Here, are you in the NSA?
I think we should move on from Madam Web, because we could get stuck in it. I didn't like it, didn't hate it. The thing about it is, so if you were giving this a letterbox review, by the way, what's your handle for people if they're listening to this, want to find you in
Adam
Letterboxd?
Neeson, all one word.
And I think I'm Jim McLean. Maybe Newsman Jim. I don't know. I don't know my own letterbox.
I think you are Newsman Jim.
Newsman Jim, just because the old Q radio vibes. But I think if I was going to give it a rating, and I know we were talking about this when we're meet up to prepare. This is a prepared pod, by the way. We were talking about various bits and bobs, and maybe we can come to this in You've Been Watching section. You said I was quite kind to Night Swim when I give it 3 stars. But even me, who give Night Swim 3 stars, I'd probably give this 2.
Oh, that's very generous.
I'd give it 2, maybe 1.5.
Okay.
Just because I went in with really low expectations. Those expectations were met, but there was never a point. There was never anything offensive in it. There was never anything that made me go, "Oh, for fuck's sake!" I just was like, I had a nap. So 1.5 stars. I had a good 15-20 minute nap during this film.
Was that better in the movie?
Probably.
Sweet.
Yeah. So what's your score going to be?
I give it 1 star.
So have you really got your review up?
Yes, it's my review is haven't laughed so hard in a long time.
1 star.
1 star. It's like it's a waste of people's time, energy.
It's a waste of talent and a good cast.
Yeah.
I don't mean an amazing cast, but just a strong, solid cast, and you just serve something up that's so generic. And if I could be my sweeping statement, it's films like this. Everyone's talking about cinema being in jeopardy now with cinema attendances down. Having sat through Madam Web with 4 people, I can see why. It's films like this that will be the ones that'll turn people off cinema, because they'll be like, fuck, I wasted my time, go and see that. Let's not bother with the next Fantastic Four. Let's just fucking watch it at home. It's films like this. It's not like Martin Scorsese making a 3-hour film or Ridley Scott making a 3-hour film. That's far superior than this. It's films like this that is just like, right, box tick, here we've got Dakota Johnson, so we've got a star. Let's do our poster, let's get her front and center, catchy tagline, blah 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 blah. Boom. Yeah, you've done it again, hard. People will pay shit to go see it. People will go pay anything to see this shit, and they won't. I think people have, particularly comic book fans now, 15 years ago you might have got away with this.
Yeah.
It'd still be dull as dishwater.
Yeah.
But you might have got away with it, and even if it was a flop, even if it was getting terrible reviews, people might still got his money back in the box office and think, well, what do critics know? I don't know. That's my little rant.
Like, there should have been somebody at the development stage that just went, come on, like, Madam, just even if they just went, let's just call it Spider-Woman. That would be even it probably would have got your money back just by people being like, what's that? Is it like Spider-Man? Madam Web.
Ceiling man, you definitely. Ceiling guy.
Ceiling guy would have been great. But like, if my girlfriend who puts up with my shit and me reading comic books and me turning around and being like, you'll never guess what happened this week to the Hobgoblin, turns to me during the movie and says, is this a Spider-Man movie? Then you fucking lost everybody. you know what I mean? Like, who's it for?
Yeah. It's like we talked about in the previous pod when we were talking about The Flash, when you have the Nick Cage cameo. And I think your lovely partner turned around and went, why is Nick Cage in this movie? You're like, but it's true. Anyway, look, let's not, waste any more time. We spent a long time in this pod talking about Mrs. Webb. And with that, I think we'll move on and wrap up this week's show with just a general what we've been watching. Adam, I think you're up again with more jingles.
You want a wee jinky? I got you one. Could be on the TV, the cinema screen, could be on an iPad or on your phone. It's movies that you've been watching.
Listeners, just want to let you know, Adam threw in a little wink there as well.
Just a wee special wink, just for Jim.
Wink just for me. So, what we've been watching, I know we've got quite a few comments from people here. One of them, I see, again, just because I have it open in front of me, Bill Taylor again, who I mentioned earlier on, who loves his pancakes with Nutella. Yum. Bill watched Argyle, which is out last week, which I know is getting a bit of a hammering from critics. You've seen it as well.
Mm-hmm.
I quite liked it.
I'm not a big Matthew Vaughn guy.
Let me caveat this. I am a Matthew Vaughn fan until he throws in a few bum jokes, no pun intended, and gets a bit leery and sleazy. I think he's at his best with Jane Goldman. Mm-hmm. She's not involved in this, and I would like to have seen what she'd have brought to the screenplay, particularly when you have a female-centric action movie like this with Argyle. Because I know you asked me, it's like, do you know who Argyle is? And you're like, well, I'm assuming it's Henry Cavill with that weird haircut. We'll not spoil. We'll spoil Mrs. Webb. We'll not spoil Argyle. But I liked it, and I don't know how to make this point, Adam, without sounding probably like a dick. I was talking earlier on, and I probably came across as a nice sleazy old man when I was complaining in Mrs. Webb about how they're getting women in their 20s to dress up as teenagers. There's something icky about that for me, right? I'm not a Japanese man. They like that kind of stuff. But in Argyle, right, I quite like how... Sorry, I think I broke Adam.
It was the sincere. I'm not a Japanese man.
Just let you know. I'm not a Japanese, just in case you thought. Maybe, looked at me once with a bit of a glance going, is Jim Japanese? I don't know. Right, okay. So, I'm not a Japanese man, Adam, right? I'm not. And what I quite liked in Argyle, and particularly from the director, Bryce Dallas Howard, I think she's fab. And I actually quite like her in the Jurassic World movies. She can run in heels. She's a good director. And I'm going to try and say this the best way. In Argyle, I quite like the fact that she's just a normal body shape.
She's juicy, Jim. She's a juicy woman.
No, it's just...
Somehow on her.
Like, I mean, I'm just going to compare, and I know I'm comparing apples and pears in that sense. You look at Dakota Johnson in Madam Webb.
Mrs. Webb.
Not saying unhealthy, but just very ultra skinny. Very, very skinny. Physique. Very attractive woman. But I just quite like, and I don't know how to, I know I'm probably going to sound like an absolute twonk when I make this point. But I just thought it was a nice touch by Matthew Vaughn, considering some of the bum jokes he threw into the Kingsman movie, and even went even fucking further with the sequel. It's like, okay, here we have just a positive body shape, for a positive portrayal for the female form.
Do you know that they had to Photoshop her arse smaller on the Jurassic World posters?
No.
What a sin.
I know.
There
we go, with the sleazy guys are back.
What we're saying is, Bryce,
so female listeners, what's happening? Female listeners, I don't mean it in an offensive way. I just think it's just like we are used to this kind of like the Bond girl trope or cliche, or I think of like Angelina Jolie in the Lara Croft movies. And I just think it's just because there's some great. I mean, I think in Argyle there's some great sequences. There's a sequence. I think I said at the time on my Letterboxd review, there's a sequence with smoke bombs, and between her and Sam Rockwell, who I love.
Yeah.
Sam Rockwell, I'll pretty much watch in anything, even when he's in the terrible Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy movie.
I love him in Hitchhiker's Guide.
I love the book.
Oh,
I love
so
the
do I.
audio. I love the book. I love the audio series. Not a lot of it was my head of what those characters were, but I love Sam Rockwell as Zaphod Beeblebrox.
It's so good.
And actually, it was the way the heads.
Yeah.
It was the way the heads, and I didn't like the head designs in. Is it Gareth Evans?
No.
Gareth
Jenkins?
Gareth Jenkins. He did Son of Rambo, didn't he?
Yeah, the guy that did the Sing movies.
Yes. I didn't like what they did with Zaphod's head. I just like it in my head. It was just
Two heads.
Two heads, and that's what it is. But anyway, that's me digressing. I enjoyed Argyle, and I would happily watch another one. I don't know if that's going to be the case, but that's something I've been watching. I already mentioned earlier on, I had saw Anyone But You just kind of a couple of weeks ago, probably one of the last times at the cinema before Argyle, and yeah, pretty solid rom-com. Nothing outstanding, and that was probably the film that introduced me to Sydney Sweeney. I was like, hello. Hello. I went full George Takei in that. Oh, hello.
It's just like
and I feel like it's appropriate in that film to be going, oh, hello. Whereas in Mrs. Webb, it's like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No. So that's some of the stuff I've been watching. I've got a few more.
I've got Migration,
Okay, so you want to see this?
the duck movie.
Yeah.
It's on for about an hour.
Okay.
Fine. Aquafina, of course, ruining another children's movie. Aquaman 2, a movie I says would never come out.
It came out.
It came out.
It came and went.
It did, and I watched it.
It washed up on the beach in our cinemas, and we threw it back.
Fishy.
Yeah.
Did you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think? Did you watch it? Did you review it for the show?
No, I just watched it.
You just
I just went to see it in the cinema. Do you know what it was? It was like my lovely wife and I were like, oh, we should go to the cinema for the last time for the year. And we was just like, yeah, we'll go see Aquaman. I like James Wan as a director. I have a soft spot for him. He can do bombastic. There was nothing. There was no that I could think of. There was no drumming squid.
But he is in it.
Yeah, he is in it, but he's not drumming, which is what you want. And Patrick Wilson's always watchable. Amber Heard's kind of in it.
Yeah.
Lawrence, no, not Lawrence Fishburne.
Dolph Lundgren.
Dolph Lundgren. If he dies, he dies. He's there. Martin Short's in it.
Yeah. Great.
So all the things about it, it's like it should be fun. It's just a bit long and bloated, and a bit like The Flash when we talked about it. What's the point? It's not going anywhere. You're not going to have any other installments. I don't even know if they do a post-credits thing
in Aquaman.
In Aquaman.
Patrick Wilson goes to a burger place, eats a burger, then puts cockroach in, and he's like, oh, it's pretty good. Which is a callback joke in the film. Aquaman 2, fine.
Yeah.
Just fine.
I preferred it to The Flash.
Same, yeah. It is like a fucking jigsaw piece of a movie. You can see where like they had storylines that just got ripped out to put in more Guinness advertisements. Yeah. Which was crazy.
I love my Guinness.
I will say that I watched this online, and the first copy I watched of it was recorded in the cinema, if you know what I mean. It was a Nuts Corner special. Jim, I wasn't paying to see Aquaman 2. And they had Temu ads every 2 minutes. Mm-hmm. So I had to turn it off and wait. But then someone nice put up a nice HD copy of it. I watched that instead. Enjoyed it. For a man that fucking hates Aquaman 1, Aquaman 2 was on. I was like,
sadly, we're not getting Aquaman 3. For now. Anyway, for now. So you're watching that. I'm just kind of looking through our comments. I'm on the X page. And I don't have Andrew's surname, but I am quite jealous because I see, and I was raging because James Oliver was talking about this after we finished recording the show earlier this week. It went out, the latest show, and he was saying he'd went to see Dune at Cineworld because it was back in the IMAX, and I was like, fuck, because that's the one. I mean, I haven't seen Dune on the big screen since it was out, we didn't get to see it the first time round on the IMAX. Foolish Muggins here was like, oh, when they open it in IMAX, and it was around the time cinemas were just kind of coming back up and running, surely they'll put a bit of Dune on the IMAX. No. Well, they fucking did, but they didn't advertise it very well. So, pardon me, Andrew. Just went to see Dune in the IMAX. It was awesome. Hans Zimmer and Denis Villeneuve are a great duo.
Mm-hmm.
And he's also the guy that likes... Well, he actually likes berries and some maple syrup. He says it properly.
What a man.
Yeah, that's a worst Valentine's Date movie ever. Oh, that's coming to a topic later. We'll come back to that. And
I have Joe McElroy on the gram.
Oh, Joe, you're the love of your life.
Sexy Joe went and seen The Iron Claw.
Oh, Jesus.
And
I say only Jesus because the fact I love The Iron Claw.
Mm-hmm.
And do you watch 24?
Up till season 4.
Is that one of the seasons where Jack, at the very end of one of the seasons, has a breakdown in his car and just sits and cries?
I think so.
That was me after watching that. I swear to God, I don't know if it made the cut when we were talking about it in the TV show. I watched it, and there's 2 scenes in that film. I didn't know a lot about the
Von Erichs.
The Von Erich family. I really didn't. I mean, if it's not The Rock and Triple H, if it's pre that, okay, maybe Hulk Hogan, the Ultimate Warrior, or maybe Macho Man,
Giant Haystacks.
Yeah, that kind of thing. That's kind of my heyday. And have you seen The Iron Claw yet? I
haven't, but I'm a big fan of wrestling, so I know about the Von Erichs. So
I didn't know enough about the family drama because I don't think you need to go into. We were talking about this in the show. I don't think if you're put off by thinking, oh, it's a wrestling movie, it's not really. It's like the Peanut Butter Falcon isn't really about wrestling.
Yeah,
like Foxcatcher or The Wrestler. Mm-hmm. Yes, there is wrestling in the film. I think the actor who plays Ric Flair, Rick gets a bit of a tough. He comes off tough in this. No, he doesn't come off tough, but he gets a hard run in this one. But then when you look back to the videos, that's what Ric Flair was like in the early days. There's 2 sequences. I don't know, has Joe said?
Joe hasn't said anything. He just says that it was a brilliant film. But I just know from talking to Joe that he was blubbering as well.
Oh, man. There's 2 sequences. So there's a sequence. I'll not spoil. There's a dream sequence. Catches you out of it's out of kilter with everything else. I am a fan of the director. I can never remember the name of the film with Elizabeth Olsen because all the names, Martha, May, something, Marlene. Brilliant film, all about kind of cults and kind of trying to. I think John Hawkes. Is it? Maybe I'm wrong. I would recommend it if you haven't seen it. Big fan of him as a director. But there's a dream sequence in Iron Claw, just comes out of nowhere and just hits you in the gut. Then you're feeling, okay, I'm already emotional. And then the final scene, and it's just like, as I think either Joe and I were talking in just the WhatsApp group for Banterflix, or maybe it wasn't maybe on the comments, how the fuck that film has got 0 nods at the awards season. I genuinely don't know. James Oliver made the point in the TV show. I agree with him. Zac Efron, he's barely recognisable. The Dreamboat is now a buff boat. Some pup. And he's fantastic. I would definitely recommend it. Although I will say this in the TV show, whether it made the cut or not, there is things I think people could find triggering.
Yeah.
You know, I always say, like, anytime things like that in film, I'll always say, well, if you get triggered by this or that, a lot of stuff about kind of mental health, overbearing parents, if you're triggered by suicide or anything like that, and I'm not being flippant when I say that, there generally is some stuff I think some people can find triggering.
Yeah, it is a lot. I haven't seen it, but like knowing the family, it's a lot.
When you say you know in the family, that's not like in Northern Ireland where you're like, oh, the Von Erichs live next door.
Do you know Bret Hart? On the Instagram while we're there, we got Brian, who went and seen 10 Things I Hate About You, which I watched recently for the first time ever.
First time ever? Oh, okay.
Fucking loved it.
So did I.
So good. And also Brian's going to see Citizen Kane on 35 on Sunday in the Strand. She also watched your favourite...
It's a sled.
Your favourite wanking movie, Anyone But You.
What do you think?
She thought that she hated it. It was all over the place. The humour just didn't land, and the relationship didn't feel earned or genuine.
It was Brian, though. I enjoyed it. You know, it had a Natasha Bedingfield song. You know, there's tourists falling into the water at Sydney Harbour. You know, It's got your guy from Crocodile Dundee. What's not to like?
Which one?
Not Paul Hogan.
There's another guy in Crocodile Dundee.
Yeah. I can't remember the name of the actor. I'll find it for you afterwards. So, yeah, okay. John McGrill here has said he recently watched Top Gun Maverick. Pretty much perfect film. I would probably, I'd agree with that. Coming back, he's the guy with the scissor. And, we'll come back to this. I think maybe, is there any other, did you say Chris Dunlop?
Oh, we got Chris Dunlop. What's happening, Chris? He watched The Exorcist Believer recently. He said, he also watched the Robert Englund documentary, which I also watched this week.
With Chris.
Me and Chris sat down together, and we're like,
actually, you were just at his window behind it.
He's pretty good in Dead and Buried, isn't he? Good documentary. I wrote in my other books that Robert Englund loves to talk about himself, but we love to listen, so it's fine.
So do I. He'll tell you that Mark Hamill story over and over again.
Yeah. Do you know I was almost in Star Wars? I think fuck you are. Anybody else on Twitter?
I don't see anybody else on Twitter. Let me go back to...
Oh, there's somebody, Caroline North.
Yes, Caroline. Well, that's a question, I think she was kind of talking about, which we'll keep to the very end. Would love a podcast discussion on anime, given how well The Boy and the Heron has been received. I enjoyed it. Have you seen The Boy and the Heron?
I haven't seen it, but I'm making my way through the Studio Ghibli movies because I've never seen them before.
Okay.
So maybe end of the year.
Okay.
We'll do a wee anime Ghibli podcast
with / Christmas special with Martin Scorsese coming back. But yeah, I mean, Caroline. I've had the pleasure of doing a discussion with her at the Nerve Centre a couple of years ago, and we've been busting to get Caroline on a couple of times for a few things. Just hasn't been able to work out with work schedules and stuff. But being Boy and the Heron, I thought was fab. It's an interesting one. I've seen both the dubbed and the subtitled.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's sacrilege. I kind of like the dubbed version because you've got William Dafoe. William Dafoe's always worth, your cinema ticket.
Isn't Pattinson the Heron? Is he meant to be mental?
What's wrong with that? But yeah, I think that'll be a good discussion to come back to on that. And I know we're we're now leaning into kind of questions because I know we had a few here. I'm just trying to get my various bits and bobs up here.
Well, I got 3 more movies I watched this week.
All right, it's all about you then.
American Fiction, just while you find the questions. Yeah. American Fiction.
Haven't seen it yet. Looking forward to it.
Nominated for Oscars. Don't really know why, because it's not like incredible, but good movie, really good movie.
Well, it's a bit like, have you seen Nyad yet?
No, not yet.
With Jodie Foster and Annette Bening.
Mm-hmm.
Just solid film. This is why I'm kind of coming back to my point. It's a solid film. I'm not going to take away from it. I mean, I never didn't know anything about the story, about this woman in her 60s who wanted to swim from, I think it's from Cuba. It's from California to Cuba. I'm going to say, no, it wouldn't be from California to Cuba.
I'm swimming across Mexico. Waving her arms.
Some swim. But I know she's swimming. I think it's like, I forget what it is off the top of my head. And never knew the story, never knew anything about it. And I was like, okay, good. Solid film. That gets nominated probably because of who the actors are.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you have stuff like the Iron Claw, which gets nothing, and you even have like Lily James in the Iron Claw, who is a very small role, but a very important role. I think that film I'm come back to. That's everyone's talking about like Greta Gerwig being overlooked.
Yeah,
that's a film I think's been overlooked.
Do you think it's because
it's about wrestling?
It's about wrestling, so people went, nah.
I don't know, because The Wrestler was nominated, wasn't it?
But it's Darren Aronofsky.
True.
So it was kind of a shoe-in.
Yeah. So what else have you been watching?
I watched Ghost Dog, Way of the Samurai,
okay,
because it was recently released on Blu-ray. The Jim Jarmusch movie with Forrest Whitaker.
Yeah.
Fantastic. First time I'd ever seen it. It's good to see a movie about... It kind of feels like a prelude to The Sopranos, where it's about gangsters kind of like... Do you know, like Goodfellas and stuff, kind of like, gangsters in the height of, like, they're always killing people or they have all this money and stuff. Whereas, like, this in Sopranos kind of shows gangsters as, like, just old men in a restaurant that they'll whack somebody if they're annoyed. But
distant journey.
Yeah, they just want to fucking play chess and eat meatball subs.
Yeah.
But obviously...
Cannellonis. Bringing it back.
Fire away, come on.
Bringing it back.
And then I also watched, because we were, instead of Madam Web this week, going to talk about the Weird Al movie UHF.
UVF, as I dubbed it.
Which Jim kept calling UVF. And then I watched it.
Have you seen the UVF yet? Outside my door.
I
East Belfast, of course they're fucking here.
I rewatched it and then thought there's not really much to discuss because it's hard to discuss comedies. I feel without being like, wasn't that a gag?
This bit was funny.
The bit
that joke didn't land.
You haven't seen it, have you?
No. When you were like, we're not going to do it, I was like, that's all right, I'm not going to watch it then.
There's a bit where
my only real Weird Al Yankovic, other than the songs, is the opening sequence of Spy Hard.
See, the whole of Spy Hard is better than UHF. Or the opening sequence even. There's a bit where
you've got to spy hard. I'm not going to sing it now.
There's a bit where there's a TV executive and a guy walks in with a mustache and a silly hat on, and he says something to the TV executive, and the TV executive goes, "Take that silly thing off," and he takes off his mustache because you think it's going to be his hat, but it's not. It's the hardest I laughed. Also,
has the Daniel Radcliffe Weird Al film? Is it been and gone?
Yeah, that's out on Blu-ray.
Okay, I missed that one.
Second half of that movie is.
Did you go see Weird Al when he was in Belfast a couple of years ago?
Here's the thing. I told you I had a story about this. I bought tickets to see Weird Al in Limelight. He's one of my favourite singers. Mm-hmm. Bought 2 tickets. Was like, don't worry, somebody will come and see this with me. If I buy another ticket, somebody will come and see this with me. Came to the week of, couldn't get anybody to come and see it with me. I know. We would have had a great time. And it was like a Wednesday night. And when I worked where I worked, I always worked a Wednesday night. And it was like, I couldn't even be bothered booking this off because nobody's coming with me. So I bought tickets to Weird Al, never went and seen him. And he's never ever going to come back here. No. So
he was like, "Where's my bro Adam?"
Well, I think the UVF are after him. They're like, "What do you say, Weird Al?" But yeah, and then I was also watching The Punisher.
Yeah. I find it unsettling. Very unsettling. Yeah, I'm trying to think of other stuff. Well, start of the show we talked about Pancake Tuesday. You were telling us all about your favourite pancake toppings.
My lemons and my sugars.
Yeah, lemons and sugars, and I've been a dirty brute with a Nutella. Well, I was thinking Valentine's Day, and I was kind of thinking you were also watching 10 Things I Hate About You. You know, lovely film to watch. That's what my lovely wife and I watched on Valentine's night. We watched Bob's Burgers. There's a new episode out. And I was like, I suppose we should put a romantic film on. You don't really feel like watching another episode of Follow the House of Usher. Brilliant series, by the way. I will just throw that out. Along with other series we've been watching is True Detective, the series 4 of True Detective. Dark Country, is that what it's called? Or
Night Country.
Night Country. Apologies. Great series. Jodie Foster again. Issa Lopez got to interview her many years ago at Belfast. Issa, if you're listening, hello.
Hi, Issa.
But yeah, we watched 10 Things I Hate About You. But I was thinking, because I was driving home from work, I was like, oh, maybe we'll go on for an old cinema date tonight to see a film on maybe a first date at the cinema. And there's some. And I'm saying this because I think the film is amazing, but I never want to watch it again. Some poor bastard is taking their significant other to say, here, I'm showing you a bit of interest. Let's go see The Zone of Interest. I was like, what a fucking horrible film. Because I'm sure on Valentine's night that film would have been shown. I think it's still on the QFT.
Yeah.
Some poor, let's go out for a wee Valentine's date night. Let's go see The Zone of Interest. Don't worry, you don't see anything. You don't see anything. But the sound will haunt your dreams. So that's why I was kind of put out. And in fairness, our listeners did not disappoint. We've got a couple of comments here. Coming back to Andrew on X. Worst Valentine's date movie would be Teeth. Yeah,
fair enough.
I can see that. And John McGrill again, he said worst film to watch on a date would be Zodiac, because I wouldn't want any interruptions. Just getting into all the murders.
Who do you think the killer? Shut up. With Nathan Hanley said sort of interest. He's a romantic at heart. Land of the Cursed Dead said anything from the 20-odd Fast and Furious franchise. In fact, anything from Vin Diesel.
That's tough.
Unless I've read that wrong. No, yeah, he's right. Yeah, it's a Vin Diesel movie that is good that you could watch. Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah, but what's the first? Not Pitch Perfect. Pitch Black.
Oh yeah,
brilliant film. probably one of the closest to come to kind of replicate the stuff I love about Alien.
Or Guardians of the Galaxy.
True.
Treat yourself.
Or the first Fast and the Furious movie. When it was just about cars.
And when he, me and my brother quote all the time when he hits the nos, and then he's not as fast as like the Japanese guy, and the Japanese guy goes, too soon, Junior.
And were you watching it going, is that Jim? The callback king. Yeah. Have you any other terrible Valentine's Day? You haven't even picked one yet.
Well, on a first date, I went and seen Ghost Rider, the Nicolas Cage movie.
Okay.
Once. And then with my lovely girlfriend and I, Heidi, the first movie we watched together, like on our first date, was Gerald's Game. I'll tell you what, Jim, we didn't make it to the end of it because we went upstairs, and guess what we did?
How do we sleep?
No, we played Lego Superheroes 2 on the Xbox.
Is that when you played Choose a Keeper?
Yeah. She was like, you get to play as the Guardians of the Galaxy. And I was like, you know who the Guardians of the Galaxy are? I love you.
I'll just pause that and watch it later. What do you call the girl? She's in Follow House of Usher. I can never say her name.
Katie Siegel?
No.
Oh, no, Giano.
So the Punisher was back in the room.
Giano Carlero?
Cappuccino or something?
Cappuccino woman?
Cappuccino. Yeah, she's great in that film, and she's great in Follow House of Usher as well. Because I know I had said to Joe McElroy, bringing it back, that I was struggling with the series after like 2 episodes. Have you watched it?
Yeah.
I really was struggling after 2 episodes. I was like, ugh. And I do like Mike Flanagan. So it's like, I'll stick with this. But I mean, it was out in October. Mm-hmm. I mean, we only finished it last night.
Yeah.
And yeah, I thought it was great. I mean, I love how as it gets, it's pretty faithful to the source materials that it's using, particularly the last episode when you just kind of kept turning to my lovely wife going, "This is just like the Simpsons." Just like the Simpsons, or just a bit without spoiling, just where it's like, Lenore's been texting him all night, and I was like, I bet you anything it's just Nevermore. And pulled up the screen, it's like, yeah,
Maggie did it.
Maggie did it.
Also, your woman gets her face ripped off by some monkeys.
Yeah, that happened too soon for me, because she was probably my favourite character.
Because she's gorgeous.
Because she's gorgeous, and she's in Midnight Mass.
Yeah.
And she's
Mike Flanagan's wife.
She likes to sleep with her PAs.
That's the thing with that show. I watched Midnight Club.
Haven't seen that. I'm looking forward to watching it.
Not great, but all those kids are in, Follow the House of Usher. And it's weird because in that show they play children, and then the next series, all of the adults are fucking those young actors, and it's like, but there's a bit Mrs. Webb of you.
We like to bring it full circle.
It's probably time to wrap up the...
Yeah, it probably is time to wrap up. So, yeah, but look, we have started a new feature just before we go. I know it's been a rambly fun. So much for my attempt, Adam. We'll do an hour.
Yeah, it's near 2.
So, yeah, near 2. Well, I thought we would do a new regular feature on the pod. Not inspired by the likes of Luyana, where they get people to send in filthy stories. But I thought we'd start something similar, but its own unique thing here on More Than Pixels on a Screen. So we want to know if you've had a horror story. Something's been in the cinema and you've been like, geez, and maybe sometimes, not when I say horror story, it can be like surreal or just odd. There's loads I've had over the years, and many of them I've probably told in this pod. It's not all about me, Adam. Mm-hmm. Believe it or not, I'm not that much of a megalomaniac. But I thought we'd get our listeners involved. And I put this out on the social medias. I put this out on our social media channel, and I said, look, can you send us in little voice notes of your horror stories at the cinema, and we can play them out, and you and I can discuss them, probably laugh. And the first person I will admit, I know Jim. Jim's been on the TV show before. He told me this story before, very briefly, but not in this as much detail as he goes into in this recording. So I thought we'll play that out now. So this was Jim McMorrow's cinematic horror story no pun intended, when he went to see The Exorcist Believer. No, Kristen loved it when he got to see it at home.
I think Chris said, yeah.
Well, yeah, he loved it. But anyway, so this is Jim McMorrow and his horror story.
So one of my more memorable recent cinema experiences was at Exorcist Believer at Cineworld in the IMAX screen. I was there with a good friend, and the thing is, you just start to sort of notice potential problematic cinema patrons when you go to the cinema, as much as I do, and I spotted a potential duo that were in the row behind us to the right, and my suspicions were confirmed when they, pulled out their phones constantly and were Snapchatting during the film, etc., etc. And then my suspicions were compounded and made more ghastly about halfway through the film when I heard what can only be described in PC terms as, marital relations going on, except there's no way a couple like this, as young as they were married. So there was an uncomfortable sort of unspoken bond between myself and the other cinema patrons because we all knew exactly what was going on. I heard some choice phrases, which I'm not going to repeat, and then had the distinct privilege of watching the male stand up and redress, should we say. He visited the bathroom, I assume, and then a few minutes later, I guess the film wasn't holding their interest any longer because they both got up and left with a worker from Cineworld in hot pursuit. But the good news is I enjoyed the film. I can't say much of the other crowd did, but I enjoyed it. And once they left, it was a good experience and a memorable one, if nothing else.
So there you go, Adam. Jim McMorrow's a very suspicious man.
Don't know what's worse, the fact that you enjoyed Exorcist Believer. Other there was the man was completely naked, bucket.
I love the way there's a bit of a kind of PI about there's a bit of a PI about Jim McMorrow. My suspicions.
There's a smell in the air of beef.
Here, didn't you go see? You and the missus go see Exorcist Believer?
I got fully in the nip.
So yeah, I think, in fairness, Jim was being very polite. Being very polite. I mean, I think if you and I were telling that story, it'd be a lot cruder. A lot cruder, a lot kind of naughtier.
I thought the cheese of the nachos had went off. Turned out it was our Lisa with her fucking cakes down.
But, as you say, what makes him just like, I'll just stand up?
Do you know when people go for a toilet? Do you know when people go, like a man goes to the toilet and like, I don't know who does this, but it's happened so many.
Do you think he just went and he had his nags and stuff around his ankle?
I'll cut off. Do you know whenever somebody goes to the toilet and they're like trousers fully down to their ankles to go for a piss in a urinal?
Hilarious.
Happens in in media so much that it has to happen in person. Like Butters in South Park does it. Yeah. I like that this guy was like, time for the ride. Ankles to my socks.
The thing about it is, right, at what point, you've seen The Exorcist Believer.
Yeah.
Jim's seen The Exorcist Believer.
Loved it.
Kristen Love's seen The Exorcist Believer.
Yeah.
I seen The Exorcist Believer. I seen The Exorcist Believer in London when I was over for the film festival. Wasn't screening there, just was there. I was watching it for the TV show and watched it with an audience it worked for. Mm-hmm. Liked it and enjoyed it. I didn't hate it as much as some. I just was like...
To be fair, you watched it in a brothel.
Yeah. A sauna. I just think, I just find it really boring. I think if that was going on behind me, I'd be like, oh, Jesus, this is great.
Yeah. I know, like...
Would you not want to have a wee sneaky peek? I suppose it depends on what the patrons are. If
I've seen enough people have sex in a theatre that my sex threshold is like, all right,
How many?
like
2.
up until like 10.
At the same time?
Some screen in the Trolls World Tour, to you. My asthma. No, because I used to work at a cinema, so people were like, "There's some commotion going up in the back things," and you go up and some girl with fucking legs akimbo getting fucking rattled. And you're like, "Course or something going up."
That's what I wanted Jim McMorrow to say.
Legs akimbo, up she goes. Like I told you, there was people in a screening of The Holdovers just bucking away, and everybody was just like, "Oh no!" Like The Holdovers is a quite like quiet movie.
Yeah.
If you hear anybody just going, "Oh fuck," like, oh.
I remember when we used to do events, we will get back to doing events, but we did a screening on Culture Night in Belfast at the Redeemer Central Church. You know, nice segue from The Exorcist. And I was kind of cleaning up the venue. It was coming near the end. We were from Galaxy Quest. And I was like, right, okay.
Very sexy movie.
Yeah, Galaxy Quest. Well, Sigourney Weaver, Alan Rickman. And
you do see Tim Allen's peep in it.
And Sam Rockwell, always hot. Yeah. And I was kind of saying, right, okay, we've been there all day doing stuff. So we've done a musical. We've got artists down to do music from the movies. We've done a screen of E.T. We did Galaxy Quest. There was other stuff going on. And I said, right, okay, there's half an hour left. I'll start tidying up. And if you've ever been in the Redeemer, it's a bit like a rocket ship kind of design. So it's kind of long down. I'll also say probably quite phallic. But maybe that's not the right to say about a church. So it's kind of big, long. And at the very end, there's kind of 2 little bits that juts out. And I had left a lot of our stuff there. I was going to like picking up candles and stuff. And went down. It was quite dark. And there was just fell on a girl. Bucking away for all there was. And just not a care in the world. Couldn't care in the world. Part of me was like, it's like, do you join in? It's like, do I have a cigarette kind of in this? And I was like, guys, I actually had to go and like, guys, I'm gonna have to ask you to stop.
He was fully naked.
he had zero cares. They were both drunk. He had zero cares. She was a bit mortified, and she's like, oh god, they're covering her ditty. I'm like, guys, I actually said the line, this is a fucking church, guys. Come on. Get the fuck. And they kind of like they got up and kind of thing and left. It was really awkward. Where part of me was like, it's like every porn movie I've ever watched. It's like you just kind of stumble across them. And you're like, oh, and then she'll be like, want to join? And you'll be like, oh, no, I'm a happily married man. Oh, all right then.
I'm trying to watch Galaxy Quest.
Yeah, so it happens. You went to that screening of Trolls. Jesus, at least 10. That's at least 5 cocks.
An all-adult screening of Trolls, I should say.
Yeah,
I don't know why I picked Trolls.
Yeah, 18 only.
Yeah,
after hours. So yeah, so there you go. Apologies for the noise at the end of this record. I don't know if it's coming through or not in the studio, but I don't know what's happening.
There's a loud farting noise coming.
Bless you. So I think with that, we will wrap up this pod. Adam, it has been a lot of fun getting the band back together. Now I've just got to go and edit all this. So Adam, it's been a lot of fun getting the pod back together. Thank you for everyone who's reached out with their messages. We'll be back again next week. As we say, we've got our new feature, our cinema horror stories. So drop us an email on that, info@banterflix.com. Maybe you can be filthier than Suspicious Jim. I don't know.
Suspicious
Jim McMorrow, PI. I could imagine Jim being a good PI. But yeah, that's all from us. So Adam, thank you very much.
Thanks, Jim.
And we'll be back next week with another episode. But for now, until then, goodbye.